another Precinct Omega reviews video. I'm bringing them thick and fast in the last few weeks. So the last time I reviewed a miniature, it was this one. It was the White Dragon Miniatures 15mm Proteus mech. As you can see, he's been based now, not painted yet. I will get some paint on him shortly. As a similar review, I guess, for a similar product but with a very different twist, I have got my hands on two Battlesuits, or if you like, light mechs or whatever, from Zandris IV Miniatures, also called Zandris IV Miniatures or Z4 Miniatures. It's all a little bit vague and I'll tell you more about that later on. But I have got two of their mechs, and their mechs come in baggies, and as you can see, they are white metal. Oops. One of those and one of those. They are a Pendekar mech and a Satria mech. So I will bring the camera back to have a closer look at those in just a moment. So at the moment, these did not come to me in particularly industry standard packaging. I've got a second-hand padded envelope and a couple of plastic baggies with my parts in. I'm certainly not holding this against Andre, who's the guy behind Zandris IV. He does this as a hobby. It's not his career by any means. He's just putting these things out there for a little bit of pocket money. And they're metal miniatures, so obviously they're going to survive that kind of treatment a lot more reliably than the resin miniatures that I was looking at before. So let's get the Pendekar out and have a look at what you get. First, it comes with a base, which is great, 40mm base. No use to me because I'm going to be putting it on a 60mm base that I've got ready over here. But great, comes with a base, helpful start. We've got a pair of legs. Quality of the casting seems fine at first glance, nothing that stands out. The detail on the sole of the foot is quite soft, but whether that's from casting for a long time or whether that's just part of the sculpt, it's very hard to say. There are mould lines, they're not extreme, they seem to be well cut, well designed to minimise them. Down the side of the thigh, inside, that's about it. Okay, so that's our legs. We've got a torso. I quite like the torso of the Pendekar. It's one of these sort of headless models where you can imagine that the pilot is inside there, like so. I like that kind of hunchy look. There's a little bit of flash. See some flashing on the side here, but nothing that just comes straight off there. Again, mould lines are visible, but not awful. Don't look like they'd be too much trouble to get rid. We've got, unsurprisingly, two arms. They've got a ball joint, so they're quite poseable inside there, but I can imagine that getting those glued into place is going to be a challenge. We'll come back and look at that. Shoulder pad, pair of shoulder pads. I'd probably consider those optional. Pair of hands. This is a left hand, which has a small pistol type weapon, and then the right hand has a larger sort of rifle stroke carbine in a kind of bullpup arrangement, that kind of weapon. We've got a couple of empty hands as well, so that's quite cool. So he does include a pair of empty hands if you don't want to have the weapons. I don't mind having the weapons. And then what have we got here? These look like sort of weapon pods or shoulder pods. I think they probably go on these spots here, but I will check the photography on the website to make sure I know how to put those together. So Pendekar looks pretty straightforward. Let's put him to one side and have a look at the Satria. Again, 40mm base. That's interesting to see. Different designs of 40mm base. Interesting. So, right, that one is, I think I recognise that. Possibly Renedra, not sure, but I've seen that base before. This one even has GW on the bottom of it, so sure enough, this is a Games Workshop base. I imagine it's come out of Andre's personal stash. Let's have a look. We've got the Satria torso. Now the Satria is a bit different to the Pendekar in that it has a head. In fact, I'm guessing those must be shoulders. They can't be heads. Where's the head in here? We've got a foot, 2 legs, weapon. Maybe it is a head. See, the reason I didn't think it was a head was... Ah, there's the head. Okay, I found the head. That one... Got to look at these things carefully. That one on that end is the head. Then we've got 2 shoulders. Then we've got 2, again, empty hands. That is good. So, torso. Gosh, this one is going to be a challenge to assemble for sure. So, at least it comes... So, that's the torso with the integral waist. Then we've got a couple of legs that again are ball mounts at the top, and they're going to have to go on like that. Little bit of that's not a mismoulding, that's where the metal is going into the mould at the top of that ball joint, so that'll need careful trimming and filing away. Other leg is slightly bent, so this one's obviously in a kind of a pose, which suits me actually because I've got plans for this guy's base. Arm, oh I see, yes, and then we've got the shoulders, so these shoulders go onto the ball sockets here, and then the arms connect underneath those, and sure enough they've got a little socket there, so that will go in like that. I don't think it matters whether this is a left or a right arm. I think they could be, looking at them, either way around. So you could have a bent right arm or a bent left arm. I don't think it will make a difference. I will experiment. Again, we've got separate feet as well as separate legs. I have a solution for this when it comes to assembly, and I look forward to sharing it with you. We've got a couple of what look like shoulder-mounted weapon pods, sort of triangular kind of shape there. And we've got 3... Whether it's 3 weapons or 2 parts of weapons, I'm not 100% sure. They clearly are designed to mount onto something. Haven't worked out what yet. So we will have fun working that one out. So the Satria clearly presents more of an assembly challenge. Separate feet, legs are going to be a challenge to assemble. I have a solution I look forward to showing you. That's going to be a challenge. We'll put that to one side. I'm going to have a look at assembling the Pendekar, and I'll come back in a moment. Okay, so I have had a good play with the Pendekar. Pendekar is quite a straightforward build. I started just by gluing the feet and legs straight to the base. It's pinned through the foot and super glued to the base. Pretty straightforward piece of work. The torso was a good deal more complicated, but far from undoable. Really quite a manageable assembly. The main problems, main challenges to any hobbyist working with this are going to be the ball joints at the shoulders, just getting them positioned the way you want to. Now, I'm going to show you today a product I'm a big fan of. I've done a few videos featuring it. This stuff, this is EvoStick Impact Contact Adhesive. When you've got challenging joints like this, this is your solution. People will talk about pinning. Problem with pinning is, yeah, it gives a really nice, strong, reliable joint. But if you get the hole in just the wrong place, there's no going back. You know, you can adjust it by maybe 2 or 3 millimeters in either direction. But if you need to adjust it by less than that, not a hope, because the original hole will just collapse. So when you've got a challenging joint like this one, I recommend this stuff. I put some of this in the shoulders, and just to demonstrate how it works, I used it on the wrists as well as an alternative to pinning. And just to demonstrate how it works, I've got some here on the waist, so you can see it's that kind of browny reddy colour. I've applied it to both sides of the joint, which is what you do. You leave it for 10 to 15 minutes, which I've done, and then you simply press the 2 halves together. And this should be, for comic timing, the moment at which the whole thing falls apart. But it's not going to do that because it's gone in. But you'll see that this is still a slightly mobile joint. If you leave it a good long time, 20-25 minutes or so, it will bond instantly into a rock hard joint, and you won't necessarily get that wobble, especially if you use a good generous amount. But if you want that to be absolutely rigid, you get your super glue, and you just add a couple of drops of your favourite super glue. A high wicking one is perfect for this job, although I wouldn't normally recommend it. High wicking super glue into the joint, into here, or at the back or the side, and that will just provide rigidity to the joint. But there is the Pendekar battle mech. Now let's compare that with the last review. There we are, next to the White Dragon. So you can see they're moderately of a size. The Pendekar is a little bit shorter than the White Dragon, but not by a huge measure. Put that aside. What is important though is that he is a very different aesthetic approach. So whereas the White Dragon has a very sort of realistic Boston Dynamics kind of look, this is a little bit more 80s, early 90s style battlesuit. He's got actual feet here. He's got quite sort of wide hips. He's got a sort of organic feel. If you look at the back around the joints, I quite like this. There appears to be sort of fabric sculpted around the joints to protect it. You'll see the same thing in the joints around the elbows. So it looks like there's sort of protective coverings in the joints, which is very realistic, even if the actual sort of build of this character isn't. I'm not sure where the pilot is supposed to be precisely. If you're playing this at 15mm, it would be great. You have a pilot inside, a little bit sort of Titanfall-y. But if you're playing at 28mm, which is what it's designed for, you do kind of have to ask yourself, where are the pilot's legs? Are they supposed to be down inside these, which would mean that they were having to sit in a very, very awkward postural pose? It's not 100% clear. To be honest, I'm not going to sit here and ask questions too much. This is a perfectly reasonable build at the end. It's a very different style, different aesthetic. These miniatures were really popular with players of Infinity, the game, before the manufacturers, Corvus Belli, brought out some of their tags, they're called, in Infinity, the game. That there were some gaps in the army list, and these were great stand-ins. They were very popular at the time. They've been less popular these days now. Corvus Belli's range has expanded, but it's still a nice mini. Right, I'm going to put that to one side and turn to the Satria. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, having assembled the Satris, I've got it right down to its feet. Now I've superglued the feet to the base, and you can probably see there I put some markers on the base to make sure I got the feet in the right place. I've now applied some contact adhesive. I think I've left it for the right amount of time. I've got some on the ankles as well, so we're going to see if it's strong enough to hold this whole metal model up just on its own. Is it going to stand? Yes, it is. There we go. Okay, now that will probably need some super glue in it before we finish. The Satris was a more challenging build for a number of reasons. The separate feet certainly didn't help. Fitting at the hips was fine using the contact adhesive. I think it would have been quite difficult using either super glue or trying to pin. These weapons on the arms are a bit of a mystery, I'll be honest. I did have a look at the website, the Zandris IV website, to try and work out how they were supposed to be attached. What I'm showing you here basically is my best guess based on the images that I saw. So this long cannon weapon is sort of underslung. The hand is clearly sculpted with a kind of handle in it, in the grip, so that kind of fits. And then on this side again, I've added the hand, and the weapon simply goes on top. It has to be said that the design of the weapons makes it feel to me like there ought to be a more intuitive, neat fit, because they're cast with these very sort of precise, boxy fittings that feels like they're supposed to really actually fit tightly over something. But as far as I can tell, there is nothing in the kit that they fit tightly over, and the photographs on the website show him built more or less like this. I have got 3 pieces left over from this. So I've got these 2 missile pods and this sort of double-barreled weapon device. there are all sorts of places they could go. I've had a look on the website to see what looks like the sort of the recommended postures. I'll be honest, I'm not that keen on either of them. Sort of, you know, back of the wrist kind of fitting. So what I'm going to do is actually put those into my bits box and use them on something else in the future. I kind of like him how he is. He's got a couple of big, heavy, serious weapons. Just to compare him with the Pendekar, he's very much of a height and a size. You know, they are clearly of the same sort of size. We put them alongside the White Dragon Minis one. We can see that in terms of bulk on the tabletop, they all fit in quite nicely along with each other. The White Dragon Minis one is a little bit taller. These guys are about 60mm tall, hence why they go nicely onto a 40mm base, but they're on 60mm bases for my purposes. Right, so the next job for me, of course, is to paint these up. So we'll put them to one side, and I will see you in a moment. So the last thing I want to do before I wrap up this unboxing and review of the Zandris IV Pendekar and Satria mech miniatures is to talk about Zandris IV miniatures. I've had a bit of a back and forth with Andre that was very informative. Right now, the Zandris IV Miniatures website, which you'll find if you search for Zandris, Zandris space IV, it appears as Z4 Miniatures. If you go there, it's a very old style web shop. Hasn't been updated for a long time. The blog hasn't been reported on since 2018. Andre is definitely still alive. He's still got stock. He's still selling his stuff. So if you see anything on there you like, you can still get in touch. And as far as I know, everything that appears is still available. One thing I did... £13. Sorry, £14. £13. And the old White Dragon one, £15. Okay, so sorry about that. Yeah, so chat with Andre suggests that it may well be that somebody is looking to take these designs off his hands and put them up for sale on a different website. That's literally all the detail I know, and it's all highly speculative, so don't hold me to that. But worth just keeping an eye out if you like the look of these minis, particularly once you've seen them painted. That it may well be that you'll find that the stock has moved to a new home. If I find out about it, I'll let you guys know. So that's it for the review. These are perfectly serviceable battlesuit minis. They're not mechs in the sense of being giant robots. They are battlesuits, so they are appropriate to be sort of worn giant armour. So they're sort of 2.5 times the size of a typical human soldier. They have a humanoid design. They have a kind of mid to late 90s look to them. It fits in quite nicely with the early Infinity stuff, less so with the more recent stuff. But they're nicely designed mech minis. I certainly wouldn't turn them away from my tabletop. I'm really looking forward to getting some paint on all three, these two and the White Dragon ones, and showing you a gallery of the painted miniatures. So stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.